podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.
This is the Dragon's Lair, in association with Riverside Sports Bar Newport, an American-style bar with a proper Welsh feel.
Hello and welcome to the Dragon's Lair podcast, in association with Riverside Sports Bar, the home of sports fans in Newport. Now, Gavin is not available this week due to other commitments, but I do have Gareth with me for this one. Hello, Gareth. How are we?
Hey, Jamie. Yep, all good. Good to be on again. Hat trick of appearances, so a match ball in the post, is it?
We need to get you on when the Dragons win.
Oh, could be waiting.
The problem is, I don't know when that'll be. That's the problem, isn't it? We don't know when it'll be. No, thank you for joining me tonight. Right, this week's episode, we have a very special guest, a former Dragon who made his debut for the club against Ulster back in 2014. He went on to make 105 appearances for the Dragons and played one international for Wales against Tonga in Auckland in June 2017. He also represented Wales in an uncapped match against the Barbarians in November 2019 in Cardiff. And he also played for Newport RFC and was named the youngest captain in history. Sadly, he announced his retirement from rugby in December 2024 on medical grounds, but he will be fondly remembered on the terraces as a Dragons great. And we are delighted that he's joined us for a chat. Welcome to the Dragon's Lair, Ollie Griffiths. How are you doing, Ol?
Cheers, all good. Thank you. Thank you very much for having me.
No problem. Thank you very much for joining us. So the first question that we ask all our guests is, tell us about your rugby journey. So how and where did it all start for you, Ollie?
I was quite late starting, actually. I played football up until I was about 16. Obviously, I played a little bit of rugby through comprehensive school and whatnot, but not actually for a club. And then I started playing for Crumlin Youth. And that's where it all started, really. I missed out on Dragons under 18s after going to Crosskeys College. I think Crosskeys College was great for me at the time, just learning about strength and conditioning, rugby, skills, everything it took to become a professional rugby player, really. And that's when I started taking things a little bit more serious in my second year of A-levels, and signed my first Dragons contract at, I think it was 18 or 19. So yeah, I was quite late to the party, but missed out on Dragons 18, so I was selected for Dragons 17s. And then I missed out on the World Cup under-20s first year, and then was selected the second year and ended up having a really good year then. I was named Welsh Player of the Tournament for the Six Nations and the World Cup, actually, at the under-20s. So I think the years beforehand definitely sort of shaped my mindset and determination after missing out on 18s, Dragons, missing out on 20s first year. So you look back on those years, and at the time it may seem tough to take, and obviously you're down in the dumps for a while, but I think those sort of things build resilience and sort of a good test of character. Like, who's to say that I may not have gone on to sign a professional contract and have the career I had if I didn't have those problems and selection issues early on.
Yeah, absolutely. So who were the players that you looked up to growing up then? Or did you have any role models or any particular players that you based your game on?
Sam Warburton was always a big one for me, and Martin Williams. So I always used to watch Martin Williams when I was younger, and then when I sort of started turning professional, and well, even when I was a professional, Sam Warburton was someone who you could sort of see he was the ultimate professional, the way he played and looked after himself, and that's sort of something I always admired.
And you was compared to Sam Warburton a lot throughout your career, wasn't you? But if you stayed fit on, you would have been better than Warburton. And I always say that to people. If you didn't have the injury,
never did manage to captain the Lions after, but it would have been.
Oh, it's a cruel game, isn't it?
Yeah.
So you made your debut for the Dragons against Ulster back in 2014. What are your memories from that day?
I remember that, actually. I remember Andy Powell was playing for us, and there's a photo of me and Andy Powell on the field out there. I think I came off the bench second half. Like, my rugby knowledge was limited, but my desire and effort was in abundance. But sometimes that isn't great when you're coming off the bench away from home. So I think I ended up giving a couple of penalties away. I think that's to be expected with youngsters that are raring to go. But no, I remember it really well, actually. Simon Zeba was playing. I remember tackling him because he was a big name at the time. And when you're 18 or 19, you realise you're in amongst it then when you're playing alongside the likes of those sort of guys.
Yeah, so 105 appearances you made for the Dragons, and you came up against some formidable opponents during that time. Who's the toughest player you ever come up against in the league and in Europe?
Tell you what, I never used to like playing against Nick Williams, Cardiff Blues. He was just he's just a big man, massive ball carrier. And when you're waiting to carry off 9, you can almost see him in the corner of your eye, and he used to fly up the line. And if he's hitting you, he's hitting you hard. So he's someone I always used to think, he's playing. I'd rather him not be, sort of thing. But there's been no end of good players over the years. Charles Pietau was always unbelievable. Whenever you saw him on the team sheet, you'd think. And I remember I had a couple of one-on-ones with him in defence, and he just dances around people. But yeah, there's no end. It's tough to put just one name on it, really.
Yeah. So the Dragons have gone through a fair amount of head coaches, as you know, all during your time there. Who did you enjoy working with the most? Who was the one coach you really connected with, would you say?
I enjoyed the years of Lynn and Kingsley, to be fair. I did enjoy those times. There's been loads, God. I'd have to...
That's the figures today. You've had so many coaches at the Dragons who've lost count.
I'd have to look back through the list. But Di Flan was a great bloke. I really liked Bernard as well. I thought his intentions were brilliant in the region. He was one of the hardest working coaches we've probably had. I always got on with him. I'm trying to think who else we've had now.
What about Dean Ryan? A lot of boys gone with him, didn't they?
A bit like Marmite, I think. But no, I never really had any issues with any coaches. No. Really, I think as long as you've got your own house in order, then there's not much you can have disagreements over. So I always try to keep my head down. But yeah, there's some coaches you enjoy working with more than others, and they see you on a level, and you sort of get on a little bit more. But there's been no end. It's tough to say who my favourite would be, really.
Can I just ask you all, when news of Di Flanagan depart the Dragons, how did you and the players feel about that? Because he always seemed very popular with the place, didn't he? Did that come as a shock to you, or did you sense that was coming?
Yeah, I don't know. It's a tough one because I really liked Di Flan. I enjoyed working with him, but he obviously fell into that role after Dean left.
Yeah. And
I think it is a difficult place for anyone to be a head coach at. Obviously, in years where funding's being cut, there's so much moving parts. So I was a little bit disappointed, but at the same time, sort of you got to put yourself in other people's shoes. And like if results are not coming, then the guys in charge ultimately are going to have to make a change at some point. So I like everyone's well aware of that, but yeah, I was disappointed to see him go. I really enjoyed working with Di, but it's just the nature of the business, I suppose, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. We've had Di on this pod, and he's just a lovely guy, and I really wanted him to succeed. Out of all the coaches at Dragons, he was the one I really wanted,
especially being from Gwent as well.
I know. It's just such a shame how it turned out, but unfortunately, that's pro sport, isn't it?
Exactly. Yeah.
Let's talk about Wales then, because you earned one cap for Wales against Tonga in Auckland back in June 2017.
Yeah.
But the most frustrating aspect of that for me was, and it still annoys me now, and I want to get your view on it, you came on the field for the last minute or so, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was the last few minutes, yeah.
Now, I thought that was absolutely criminal at the time. You should have been brought on a lot sooner. How do you feel about that, Al? The fact you was just brought on so late into the game, we couldn't really make the impact you wanted to?
It's hard to comment, really, because obviously I've never coached at international level. I don't know what's going through coaches' mind when they're 60, 70 minutes into a game and they've got inexperienced players on the bench, do you know what I mean? So I've got no hard feelings to not playing more. But obviously, I would have loved a shot to have gone up there and played. I feel like I never did really reach my full potential. I feel like I don't want to be one of those guys saying I should have had all these caps because talk's cheap, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? It didn't happen, but I feel like that I certainly could have performed at that level. I just never really did get the the opportunity, and sort of timing's very important. I think when you're trying to get in that setup, and unfortunately for me, it was a case of about 3 or 4 years where there was occasions where I was due to be named in the squad on a Monday, and I'd break my jaw on Friday. There's another time I was due to be named on the squad I think it was autumn internationals, and ended up doing syndesmosis and needed an ankle operation. I think after a while, people started looking at you as a bit injury prone then. And then obviously, like, the back row in Wales is unbelievable. So who's to say I would have even played more than one time if I got in those camps, because there's so much talent, like, throughout that back row 5-6 years ago and even now.
Yeah, I know you're very modest about it, Ollie, but you definitely could have and should have had more Wales caps.
Yeah,
Everyone in Welsh rugby will agree with that.
yeah.
Yeah, it's nice to hear that sometimes. I did feel like I was ready for that sort of level. I think I would have played well, but at the same time, there's only certain things you can control. Control your effort and your mindset and how much you try and stuff. But unfortunately, things like that are very often out of your control. So there's not much you can do about it. But look back, and I think I look back on my career and think at least I did do everything I could. I think if I'd sort of cut corners or took easy options or not give it my all, then I think that's when you start back and regretting things.
On that, Ollie, you mentioned like you can control what you can control. Did you ever find that maybe playing in a side that doesn't win as much goes against you in terms of international selection? So I think sometimes we got some quality players maybe now that maybe don't get the hype as if they do at the other regions because maybe we don't win enough games.
It's definitely easier to play in a winning team. I mean, if, like, take my position for instance, if you're a back row forward and you like carrying ball, if you're getting a lot of possession in a game, your front five are getting over the game line and you're rolling around the corner onto carries, it's a lot different to play in if you're up against it in defence a lot and you're making 20, 25 tackles a game.
Right.
But at the same time, like, no excuses really. Look, like, Wayne has been playing for the Dragons all throughout his career.
Yeah.
And he's playing for Wales. Will Rowlands came to us for a few years, and he was unbelievable. So I think you need to be careful. It's not an excuse, but at the same time, it's undoubtedly easier to play better if you're winning. If all your systems are absolutely nailed down, if you've got the best players around you, I think I can confidently say that it is easier to play better in a winning team.
Absolutely, and it's about perception as well, isn't it? You know, it's difficult if you're in a losing team, the perception around that. But you did make another appearance for Wales, though. It was an uncapped match, but it was against the Barbarians in November 2019 in Cardiff. Well, that must be up there in your career highlights, mustn't it? Playing at Principality Stadium, playing in front of your friends and family, belting out the anthem. Tell me about that day. That
was awesome, to be fair. I actually really didn't enjoy the week leading up to it because I just come back from a calf tear, and I come back quite quick to try to play that game. So all throughout the week I was struggling a little bit. I wasn't training as well as I could because I couldn't hit full speed, and I was always a bit sore and aching. But I managed to get to the game, which was good. I think I played about 30 minutes off the bench maybe, but singing the anthem in front of my family and friends was awesome. So I'm glad I got that opportunity. It's a shame it wasn't capped because it would have took me off the one cap wonder, but it is what it is, I suppose.
Hey, you got one more cap than a lot of other people in Wales. Be proud of that. You are a Welsh international. I know because I read the Argus and you said to Chris Kerwin that you don't feel like you're a Welsh international, but you are, Ollie. One cap out of your caps. You are Welsh international.
On paper, I suppose, but I just find it hard to sort of class myself as that after a couple of minutes in a one cap game. Do you mean? I think but I completely see what you're saying. You've got the cap, and it's down. It's noted down, isn't it? As such,
you are a Welsh international, and you should have had more. Absolutely, you should have had more caps.
And you're in the Wales camp for more than 1 minute, and you're grafted. So
true.
That counts.
Yeah,
absolutely. Okay, so you announced your retirement in December last year, age 29, due to ongoing health problems. And then in October, you revealed that you're suffering from a rare condition after being diagnosed with a tumour on your spine. I got to get this right now because it's really hard to say. Langerhans cell histiocytosis.
Yeah, that's it. That's the one.
Fair play. Try saying after a few pints.
Yeah, fair enough.
LCH for short.
Yeah.
So for those who might not be aware or have no real knowledge of this condition, can you just explain what it is and how it affects your daily life, if you don't mind?
To be fair, now I'm all right. I've got a nerve problem on my left leg, which has stopped me from playing. But that's more like a performance and sport point of view. Day to day, walking around and doing everything is fine. It's just I wouldn't be able to play a game of professional rugby. But it's essentially like a build-up of Langerhans cells. They use the C word, but very often some specialists don't consider it as cancer, whereas some do. Because it's not as aggressive, and sometimes it resolves itself, which isn't the case with others. But I've been on tablets for since last June now. I've had a couple of scans showing signs of improvement, but if it gets worse or starts to grow, then it's a case of radiotherapy. But it doesn't look like it's going to go down that route. So it was a crazy few months. Like I wouldn't wish it on anyone. It was the scariest time in my life and my family's life. But like, from what we thought it could have been and what we sort of wrapped our heads around, it turned out better than it could have been. Obviously, there was a time when they thought it was an infection. That would have been great, of course, of antibiotics and on your way. But that wasn't the case. But then when I've been to some of the wards and stuff I've been on, I've gone in there and almost felt like a fraud. I mean, I'm walking in there after like been training all day. I'm fit, strong, healthy, and I'm looking around. I'm seeing some people are struggling. Obviously, I've lost my ear anyway. But you can tell some people are like really ill and struggling, and there's younger people there. So I walked out of there with like a whole new perspective. Some people think, oh, you've been unlucky throughout your career and stuff, but like for me, after the last year or so, I feel quite lucky to have come out from rugby. I got a slight nerve issue in my leg, which stops me from doing certain things. But I mean, I'm doing all right. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, that was actually my next question. I was going to say, has this condition changed your outlook or your perspective on life now?
Yeah, it's easy to get stuck in a day to day, and when you've got 100 things running through your head, and just not be grateful for anything. But I think when your health is on the line and like your family are worried and everything, that it is really scary time. So ultimately, that's the number one thing that is important, isn't it? Is your health. It's not your job, your money, your status, what you're doing, where your day. It's your health, and I think that was a quick realization that is ultimately all that matters.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. So you feel okay now in yourself? You feeling?
Yeah, I feel good. I'm still taking these tablets. I've had another scan last Saturday, so waiting on the results for that. But I've had no symptoms changes, which, fingers crossed, touch wood, suggests that it's still recovering. But yeah, apart from that, I'm all good.
Oh, good. That's pleasing to hear, that is.
Thank you.
You're a busy bee because you run a property business, don't you? You buy problem properties and you renovate them. You operate a holiday let in Tenby, and you do online coaching, apparently, don't you, for aspiring rugby players. So fair play, you've got a lot going on. How important is it, do you think, for players to have a career outside of rugby?
It's massive because you can see how quickly things can turn. It's pet peeve of mine when you see like a 21-year-old and they get a decent contract, and the first thing they do is go and spend on a 30 grand car and a 10 grand watch, and you're thinking you're only one knee injury away from scraping around for a job with no qualifications or no trade. So I think it's massively important. I think there's this preconceived idea that if people sort of do something outside rugby or put themselves out there a little bit, then they're distracted from what their priority should be. But I think that sort of that stigma needs to go. I think in order to grow rugby and for players to build something outside of rugby, like, everyone needs to support each other, putting themselves out there. And I think over the next few years, hopefully you'll start to see that more. I think it's the older generation almost look down at players who are putting themselves out there or getting involved with like media campaigns and sponsors and stuff as like they're distracted from rugby. But I think ultimately you finish rugby, you could be finishing in 6 months time if you have an injury, or you could be finishing at 25, or you could have a 1 in a million condition like mine, and next thing you know, you're retired. Do you know what I mean? So I think it's important that players need to plan ahead for that sort of thing. I'm just glad when I was at a young age I did, because having the property stuff outside of rugby, it was sort of one thing I didn't really have to worry about when I was already worrying about 101 other things with my back and whatnot.
Yeah. Absolutely. So when you renovate the properties, is that something you always look to do after you retired from rugby? Like, how did you get into DIY? Was that something you've always done? Because I'm hopeless at DIY. I wouldn't be able to do what you do.
To be honest, I'm not very good at DIY at all. What I done is I just educated myself as much as I could from the ages of 19, 20. So I was meeting up with investors that are sort of 10 years ahead of me and just picking their brains. I was reading books, magazines, and listening to podcasts, just trying to find how I can help sellers really with properties that they can't get rid of, or if they want to sell it quickly because there's structural damage. I just spent all my spare time really getting clued up on that, and then after a few, sort of just got the ball rolling really, and that's where I'm doing spending a lot of time on now is the property stuff. The holiday let in Tenby Archeries, that was one me and my wife done together, but she's sort of taken the reins on that and is running all that and doing an awesome job. And then, like you said, the online coaching is something to ultimately fill my time with something which I'm quite passionate about and what I enjoy. I'm lucky the property stuff is sort of ticking over in the background and isn't very time intensive. So I thought, what can I do, which I really enjoy, I've always had a passion for, which is training and fitness. And then I spoke to a couple of guys that are doing the online thing and thought there was a bit of a space for someone who's sort of played rugby for 10 plus years. I've done my qualifications in personal training. And to be fair, I'm quite enjoying it. I've got about 30 clients now. A lot of them are rugby players. A lot of them are just people that want to get in shape and get healthier. And I think if anything has come of everything that's gone on, is me realizing how important health is, and if I can help other people get healthier and live a better life, then it's very very rewarding and satisfying for me. I get messages a lot of time where people have dropped like 1.5 stone, 2 stone, saying their confidence is through the roof. They feel a lot better, and that's nice to hear that sort of stuff.
Yeah. Makes you feel like, you've made a difference to people's lives then, doesn't it? So it's quite rewarding.
Yeah.
Really rewarding. So what's your one piece of advice you give to the kids coming through the system now, especially when they're, dynamic back rowers? Do you have any advice for the kids? It's a tough position to play all, isn't it?
Yeah, it is a tough position to play, and it's getting tougher. I'd just say, like, leave no stone unturned. Like, do everything you can in terms of looking after yourself, your analysis, prepping for opposition. I think over the next 10 years or so, you're going to see a big shift towards like the mindfulness and mindset around players and the psychology of things. I think that's massive. I think teams are starting to sort of see the benefit of that and invest in it more now. So I think that's a big one, is just having control of your emotions, especially in key moments on field. But yeah, like I said, just make sure you do everything you can, and then at least wherever happens throughout your career, you can finish and you can look back and think, I give it my all, and the rest is what's meant to be.
Yeah, absolutely. So when you look back on your career then, what are the highlights that stand out to you for Dragons and Wales? Any particular matches that stick in the memory?
There's no particular match for the Dragons which I can look at and say it was that match, but it was more like little moments, like when you're up there with your friends and you're playing in Rodney Parade. I used to love like the last 10 minutes of a close game. Like when the terraces start getting loud and your body's up against it, but then you're face down in a pile of mud, but your mates are around you and you're sort of giving it everything you can. They're the sort of moments that like I'll miss and look back and think, those were the good times. And then like scraping a win last minute. I think it's a photo of me and Lloyd back last year. It was that sort of game. We just got our arms around each other, just over the moon that we've managed to scrape a win after a real tough 80 minutes. Like, so it's those sort of moments which I look back on. But then probably playing at the Principality and singing the anthem in front of my family.
Yeah, Good stuff. And we were speaking before we started recording. You've spoken to the boys. You still keep in touch with them in the Dragons camp. It's been a tough season, as we all know. Really tough season to be a Dragons supporter. Feels very bleak at the moment. What have you heard from camp, Al? What can you tell us?
It's through no. It's never through lack of effort or trying. I think the problem is if we have a few injuries, the team can be very inexperienced, and when you going against teams who've got experience in abundance, it's always going to be tough. I mean, you need to catch them on a bad day, and you need to have everything in order on the day. But I think you need like those senior players like dotted around the squad, because there's some great young players coming through. Morgan Lloyd's been good, Joe West has been great, but then you need like a core group out there who are fit, just to sort of drag those boys through tough moments in games. But yeah, it's never through lack of effort. And I know it's difficult sometimes to be a Dragon supporter, but I think it's just key that everyone knows, like everyone that listens to this podcast, I imagine, are the diehard Dragons fans that have been with us through thick and thin, that like the boys and the coaches, like their hearts in it, they are trying, and just keep sticking by us, because I think without the fans, a lot of those rainy days at Rodney Parade wouldn't be as enjoyable, and we wouldn't scrape those wins towards the last 5-10 minutes.
Yeah, it is tough. It really is tough being the Dragons fan. I'm on the edge at the moment. I'm not going to lie. People who know me know how fed up I am, but it is tough, especially for the youngsters. They're the ones I really feel for, But let's hope they can turn it around soon. Six Nations, that's starting this weekend. Are you a big fan of Six Nations, Al?
Yeah, I enjoy watching Six Nations. I watch all the games, yeah.
Excellent. So a lot of people are tipping Wales for the wooden spoon. More doom and gloom, isn't it, in Welsh rugby? Twas ever thus. How are you feeling about Wales heading into the Six Nations? And do you think we're going to get a wooden spoon, or are you a bit more optimistic about our chances?
Thing is, Italy over the last 2 or 3 years have showed signs of improvement every tournament. And you look at how good Treviso are doing now. Like that's going to be a tough game. Whereas, like go back 5, 6, 7 years, it was almost a given. Well, for fans, it was a given that it was going to be a win. Whereas that's definitely not the case. So that could potentially boil down to Wales' biggest game of the tournament. But yeah, it's like very similar to the Dragons. There's a lot of inexperience in that team, but then they've got some good older players around the squad. I feel like they're in a bit of a transition period at the moment. I see people saying about Gatland going and whatnot, but I don't think that's the solution. Is so much more nuanced than just one guy. But it'd be interesting to see. I mean, the other teams are not getting any worse, are they?
No.
And it's out in France tomorrow night, isn't it? So that's going to be a tough one. But I will say Wales, for the majority of the games I've watched over the years, they very often do a lot better than I think they're going to do. So we'll have to just wait and see.
Absolutely. Who's your tip to win it then, Al?
France or Ireland, I think.
Yeah, same here. I think France.
Yeah.
I just think it's their time now. They need to win it, haven't they? Because they've been runners up for a number of years now. So I think this is their time. And Anton Dupont, of course, is just outstanding, isn't he?
Yeah, on another level, isn't he?
Yeah, absolutely.
We're signing him, aren't we? Are we not?
Oh yeah.
Is that?
It's Danny signed.
Yes, Rhys Blumberg did make a reference on the Scrum Fight podcast that he had a meeting with the owner. So one of them said, "Can we sign Anton Dupont?"
That'd be nice, wouldn't it?
It would be nice, yeah. I'm just thinking now of Anton Dupont and Rodney Parade. It'd be brilliant, wouldn't it? Oh, it's never going to happen, but we can dream, can't we?
Yeah.
Okay, that's it for me. Garth, do you have any other questions?
Yeah, just a couple. Who would be your favourite players to play alongside with at the Dragons over the years?
It's always great playing with your mates, so like Elliot Lloyd, Screech, Dix, Jumbo, Rosser. But I used to love Kerry. I like playing with as well. He's always 100% there. But I did enjoy the years playing with Nick Cudd and Lewis Evans. I think they were the best years I played. It was the best rugby I played. But I think they both made me look good. I think like Cuddy was awesome to play with. He was flying into everything every game, and he would always have a great leg chop on someone, and then I would be over the ball, so it'd make me look good. Or I'd chop someone down and he'd be over the ball. And then Shanks, he was the sort of he was a number 6, so you'd know what you're getting from him every week, sort of thing. He was great in defence. He was a good leader. But then there's so many boys like James Thomas. I used to love playing with JT. That you can't beat playing with your friends. To be fair, so yeah, it's tough to name one.
Nice, happy days. Who's the best on the social?
We're going back a couple of years now with James Thomas. Was always good on the social. He was social secretary. The Jared Ross has taken that duty over from him now. But yeah, there's a few.
What's the Dragon social like?
It varies. It's a lot tamer now. The last few years, I think times have changed from when I was 19, 20. But typically, we may do like a day at the races, or could go to depot in Cardiff, or like a pub crawl around Pontcanna, that sort of thing, really.
Oh, nice. So when you did get your first cap, then did you have to do an initiation with the Dragons?
Yeah, we had we had a social in Walkabout, and we had like a little area, but it was just like a load of drinks, and it's like just like 6 or 7 drinks, and that was it. I had it quite easy compared to some boys. To be fair, I would take that over some of the other initiations I've seen.
Fair play. And then just one more, if you don't mind. The on training, actually, how much of your week is spent training as a team and the systems, and how much is like your own individual skills? Like, so say being like a turnover specialist, like you were.
So you'd obviously have your gym session with the team, and then you'd have your forwards unit session, and then your team session. But then you'd have like carousels, we call them, mixed in throughout those sessions. So you may have some like 3-minute blocks where you're working on individual skills, but ultimately the majority of it is team stuff, and then it's sort of the onus is on the player then to do their individual stuff. So you may see the fly-offs doing their conversions. You may see scrum halves doing the box kicking, and then the back rowers will be doing their breakdown work. Second row might be doing some line-out work. So it's sort of tagged on either to the beginning or the end of the team sessions.
Is that when you think, I wish I could kick a ball, when you're getting smashed in rucks and they're knocking one over the post?
When I'm jackling and they just kick in. Yeah.
Happy days. Stuff.
I think that's it then, isn't it? Are we all happy? Should we leave it there? Because we kept Ollie for a fair amount of time, haven't we? So
that's fine.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me on. Appreciate it, and thanks for supporting the Dragons still through thick and thin. Like you said, you are on the edge, but
this might be my last season.
Yeah.
Season ticket holder. I don't know, mate. I honestly, yeah.
But I've got a lot of time for the Dragons supporters. I know you've been through tough times, but appreciate all the support throughout the years. So thanks to everyone that's listening, and you guys for trying to grow the Dragons and the game.
Lovely. Cheers, Ollie. Thank you so much
Cheers,
for joining
guys.
us.
Catch you later.
Thank you. Take care. Ta-ra. There we go. Ollie Griffiths. One of my favourite ever Dragons players. So cruel that he just kept getting hit by injury setbacks throughout his entire career. Because if he had stayed fit, I'm telling you now, he could have got 40, 50 caps for Wales. He was outstanding when he was fit. He instantly made the Dragons a better team when he was fit, wasn't he, Gav?
100%. Every time he was on the field or seen him on the team sheet, we had a chance. And even when we were stacked in the back row with, Moriarty and all these, I always felt he was our best player. Cool one with injuries. But yeah, great guy.
Yeah, really nice guy to talk to as well. And it does still annoy me. I know some people say, well, he's, he might not have ever gone to the field, but the fact he was brought on for just 1 minute, and then that time, it really bugs me, really annoys me. But he did get his Wales cap, and he is a Welsh international. Good on him. And I'm glad to hear he's feeling better as well, because that must have been quite worrying to deal with that condition. So lovely to talk to him, and glad he joined us. Right, a reminder, if you haven't done so already, don't forget to like and subscribe to the pod and leave us a kind review on Apple Podcasts. We will always give a shout out to the listeners who leave us a good review. So bear that in mind. Leave us a good review, please, and you will get a shout out. We are also available on the Rap YouTube channel, so make sure you subscribe there if you want to see our ugly mugs. Right, let's get into a bit of news then. It's all doom and gloom. Well, most of it's doom and gloom, I'm sorry. But Kai Evans, he's out for the rest of the season with ruptured right Achilles. and Angus O'Brien is going to be out for a while after surgery on a fractured thumb. Those are big losses for us, aren't they, Gav, losing those two guys, especially Angus.
Yeah, I think Angus on his first season back was player of the season, captain. Now a big leader in the team. Sometimes you watching the Dragons, I feel a bit sorry for Angus. He's trying to do about 10 jobs out there as one of our experienced heads. But yeah, he's a huge loss and really tough on Kai Evans because I think he can add balance to our back line. And he probably needed a run of games to push for a contract, if we're honest, and wanted to see him kick on.
That's the thing now, isn't it? So this was his last year. The question is, will he be given a new deal? It's hard to say, isn't it? I'm not sure. I'm not sure.
If I guess unless another team comes in for him, if there was something, conditionally that you come back and you're fit and firing, fair enough. But yeah, it's a tough one. Who would we even replace him with is the thing. Because he covered two positions. Although I do think he's just a 15 really. But yeah, don't wish injuries on anyone. It's really sad to see because yeah, he could have done with a run of games, and we could probably do with someone with a decent boot in the back line at the minute.
Yeah, best wishes to him. You sent me Ollie Bow's Instagram. I wasn't aware of it, but he's had a shoulder op, it looks like. So speedy recovery to him. These injuries are just piling up, aren't they? They really are piling up for the Dragons. And in more injury news, Solomon Funaki, so he played for Pula the other week, came off the bench, scored. He played for Newport against Bridgend, and he lasted just 32 minutes, taken off with an arm injury. According to the Argus, they've said that Funaki will return potentially after the Six Nations. It does make you wonder if we're going to see him in a Dragons shirt this season, doesn't it? A signing that's just had no luck at all with injury. So it's a tough one, isn't it?
It's frustrated. Signed with a relative fanfare for what we signed. And yeah, we just haven't seen him. An area that's been traditionally of strength, but it definitely hasn't been this season. I think the Argus readers would see when saying, Lydiat's played X amount of games when he shouldn't have been.
Yeah.
We had George Young in on the weekend, a youngster again. We are down to the bare bones in the back row. So yeah, it's a blow. We all want to see him. We all want to see him succeed, but it's frustrating to have a sign in when you've got a small squad and him not feature all season.
Yeah, it's really tough. There is some good news, though. There is some good news. Harry Keddy is returning. Keddy is in line to make his return in the home fixture against Glasgow on Sunday, February the 16th. Nobody's talking about this, right? But we have missed Keddy so much. We have really missed his leadership, his ability, and he's the only person in the back row that can actually turn over ball for us. And people forget that.
Yeah.
He is a genuine turnover machine. Because when we name these back rows of Basher and Wainwright and Woodman, whoever, they just unable to pilfer ball in the way that Keddy can.
Yeah, he's absolutely quality. I think when I asked Ollie about does it go against Dragons players for international selection, being in a losing team, my mind actually went to someone like Keddy. I think he's absolutely top draw. I think he's really good, adds a lot to our team. Always 100%, but he's got the quality to go with it. And you're so right on the turnovers. I mean, we need someone stemming the tide because it's a lot of one-way traffic at the minute, and we don't win enough turnover ball. We don't have enough threats on the park. So yeah, really glad to see him coming back because, well, it was going to be a shootout soon against Zebra away coming up, but they might be out of sight soon.
Yeah, well, we'll talk about that later. But yeah, Keddy is on his way back and good because we've missed him. He's a good player. Yeah. We really have missed him. Wales under-20 squad that was named 7 Dragons, which is a pretty good representation, more than Cardiff.
Good news.
Cardiff had 6, Dragons had 7, Scarlets had 7, Ospreys only 3, which is surprising. But yeah, 7 Dragons. So they are Owain James, Nick Thomas, Ryan Jones, Evan Minto, Logan Franklin, Harry Ford, and Harry Rees-Weldon have all been called up to the squad. So well done to those players and best of luck to Wales under-20s in their Six Nations campaign. Should we do a quick post-mortem of what happened on Saturday? Dragons 19, Munster 38. So I'm going to make it very clear now. I've had my rant on the Rap podcast, okay? I've said what I wanted to say. I've had a big blowout, so I'm more interested in your view now. I'm a little bit calm about it. I'm still angry. I'm still seething actually, but I'm a lot calmer than I was when I had to talk about the Dragons on Monday night. So 1938, a scoreline that really doesn't reflect the full game, does it? That's flattering to the Dragons. Really, really flattering. 31-0 at halftime. People walking out at halftime in the stand by me. Munster's bonus point was scored after just 20 minutes. 21 points were scored in the space of 4 minutes. It was pretty grim. Let's be honest. It was grim. It was uncompetitive. It was horribly one-sided. It was grim. Bit of a fight back in the second half. But the damage was all done in those first 20 minutes, wasn't it? So I want the view from the terrace now then, Gaff. Tell me about what you thought of that game on Saturday.
I think before I moan, the very small defence that I would have is if you looked at our squad pre-season and then looked at that side that we picked, missing Brown, Fairbrother also retired pre-season, Elliot D, Wadri Jones, Martinez then went off injured, Carter, Screech, Cummins, Funaki, obviously Ollie, Wayno, Basham went off early as well. No George Knott, no Rodri, no Angus. We were missing a lot of our frontline players, and we know we don't have the depth. The frustration is the owners know what our squad looks like in pre-season, so why wasn't it addressed? Why have we gone into a season without depth in the front five mainly? The front five was underpowered and completely blown off the park. It's really hard to analyse a game and where we're going wrong when a team is just walking through us. And Munster soon clicked that if they just ran everything, they'll just score tries. It was like they were out there for a laugh. And they weren't even that good. Munster weren't like an unplayable team, and they didn't bring a superstar squad over that we couldn't live with. We were just miles off the pace. It was a real tough watch. A very low moment in the Dragon season. One of a few low moments, actually.
Yes, there are caveats. You've mentioned one of them there about the injuries. We cannot ignore that. Dragons have had a crippling injury list pretty much all season now, but this happens almost every season. We always seem to have a lengthy injury. So we got to figure out and try to work out, why do we keep having all these injuries all the time? Is that just bad luck, or is there more to it? This was the Dragons' third game in 14 days as well. So when you factor in those, does that still excuse being blown away in our first half? Because it's happened now against Scarlets, it's happened against the Lions, and it's happened now against Munster, where we are so uncompetitive that the games have been decided in the first half. Does that excuse those performances?
It doesn't excuse it. No, for me, it doesn't. It gives some sort of reason, but you see teams go out there with lengthy injury lists and backs against the wall, and you've got that backs against the wall mentality. We don't seem to have it. We've just not got the dog and the fight that we all want to see. And we've said off air that we're not looking to win the Champions Cup. We just want to be competitive, especially at home. And that is not enjoyable for anyone to watch. Why would you go back is the problem, which should worry the owners, because there was a lot of people there at that game who won't return.
Is that what you've been told? Is that what you're hearing? Or is that what you're sensing?
Definitely sensing it. There's a large group of us who go over. There's my brother and my old man, two the three of us are probably diehards, we would say, and we've dragged over a fair few more with us this season. Roped them into season tickets with the promises of good rugby, good signings, and better times.
The promises of good rugby. Gareth, don't be making promises we can't keep.
And you know what? After obviously the Ospreys game was great. And even the Sharks losing the last minute, we were in the pub afterwards and we're like, fair play, this is great. When's the next game? The boys were asking. And a couple didn't come to the last one. And they're thinking, why would they do this next season? They can just go to the pub, save themselves a couple of £100 and save themselves a bit of misery as well. Because it's a dire atmosphere on the terrace at the moment. We want to back the players. We want to show our support. There is no lack of effort. Like you said before, Jamie, the players are putting in the effort, but the squad isn't good enough. Yeah. And they need to give something back to the fans, because you can't just generate an atmosphere when you're you've conceded a bonus point try in 20 minutes.
You're absolutely right about the atmosphere. I've always trumpeted the Ronnie Parade atmosphere. I still think when it's full and it's rocking, it's probably the best atmosphere in Wales. I know other supporters will disagree, but I don't care. I am biased. I think Ronnie Parade is proper old school, and we do get behind the players, don't we? And it's a great atmosphere when things are going well. But I have noticed the past few games, it's been flat. Munster was flat. There was a lot of freebies given away as well. There was over 1,000 tickets given away for this. Bring a friend for free. I asked my brother, did he want to go? He said absolutely not. That's how bad it is now. That even with a free ticket, people don't want to come down. It's worrying, isn't it? And it's a shame. But I think this is the problem, isn't it? When you're not winning games and we can see the players are low on form, low on confidence, it is hard to create that atmosphere. I mean, I know we need to do it as supporters, but when you go into every game thinking, oh God, it's hard to do, isn't it?
Well, that's it. You need hope. If you can go in and you know you've got a bit of hope and you're in the fight, whether you come out with the result, if you've gone in with a bit of hope and the team have put in a performance, you'll leave happy and you'll come back. But I feel like the crowd, not just myself, but I don't want to speak for the crowd, but on the terrace, it feels like there isn't hope going over for these games. We're almost resigned to we're going to lose. So it's just a flat atmosphere from the off, and you do want to support the players, and they are trying their best, but the squad quality just isn't good enough. No, we're in a tough league, a really tough league, and there is just not enough quality on the field.
Have you ever had people say the Dragons need to get relegated? Because I've had this, people keep telling me all the time, the Dragons just need to get relegated because then they could be in a team, in a league rather, and they compete against teams that are more their level and, build up some confidence, get some wins. That's all good and well. There is no relegation in the URC, lads. So we're stuck in a league where we're struggling to compete. A lot of people have said that to me.
Yeah, believe me, if we could get relegated, we'd have done it.
Yes, exactly. Let's talk. There was some positives come out this game. Not many, but there was a few. Harry Wilson, or Harry Harris, as Sean Holly from Scrum 5 called him on his video, Harry Harris. I'm always going to think of him now as Harry Harris. That's the problem. It's stuck in my head. He did make an impact off the bench. Apart from one pass, which ended up in row J in the Bisley, he did create and score a try, which is encouraging. So I think it's clear to see he's got work-ons.
Yeah.
I still think he should have been given far more opportunities than he has, especially in the Challenge Cup. But I don't know about you, Gav. When I watch him, he's a big guy. He is a bit Jamie Roberts-esque, especially the lines that he runs. He cut a lovely line for Dane Blacker's try.
Yeah, awesome.
I think there is potential there. I can see a player there, but he needs a run of games, doesn't he, to showcase himself? Do you think?
100%. I think he's shown it in flashes all season. I think the Ospreys game, he made some good inroads when we went through all those phases for the winning try.
He was brilliant off the bench that day. Really good.
I mean, tough day away in Leinster, but a lot of good players have gone to Leinster and had tough days. He's shown it in little flashes a lot. And he did add a touch of class. We just don't seem to have anyone really hitting those lines in the back line for whatever reason. And when you've got a player like a Nywan Owen, who I actually think is absolutely outstanding player, a Nywan Owen. Another one I feel sorry for when was playing for us. He can play at the line. He can shift the ball and pick the right option. The trouble is he very rarely has more than one option. But on that one for Blacker's try, I think he had Rio out the back. There was an inside ball and Wilson cut a line. And Owen picked the right option because he's got that quality, and we were away. And I just think that looks like a partnership that could actually go somewhere. I'd like to see that partnership given a good run now.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned Nywan Owen. He is quietly having a very solid season, and it is difficult for him to stand out in this team at the minute. But I think he's been terrific now, when he's more, I don't know, I just feel like he's really matured and he's showing really good leadership, and his decision making is really good, and he works his guts out. He's been working really hard, even in games where we've been completely thumped. Even against the Lions, for example, he was everywhere and he was working so hard, and even though we had 60 points put on us, he was still everywhere.
You think what Ollie said about playing in the back row, you want to take the ball around the corner after the front five have made yards. Imagine a Nywan Owen with front football and forwards punching big holes and him having the room to play. He would he'd be in the Welsh squad. But
Yeah.
he's getting it on the back foot with a lot to do when he's getting the ball at the minute, and he's still quality. I'm a massive Aneurin Owen fan. It's criminal that he's our most experienced centre. That's a worry. Letting Steph go does seem like an error now. But yeah, absolutely agree. Top quality player.
It's caused a problem, and look, I understand why they let Steph go. It was for family reasons.
Yeah.
It's hard to deny someone, isn't it, when an opportunity like that comes along. He has been really good for the Dragons, so I understand why the club, released him when they did, but it's caused a problem now because Westwood has promise, but he has defense deficiencies. I think it's fair to say they've played Jared Rosser at 13. That simply doesn't work. Please stop doing it. He's
No,
not.
very good wing.
He's not a 13. He's
No,
not
no
a
way.
13. Harry Wilson isn't getting a sniff. Harry Ackerman, I really like, but he's not a 13, he's a 12. And we've played Aneurin and Ackerman together. And
100%
again,
agree.
it's just, it's caused a problem, isn't it? I didn't realize it would cause this big of a problem, but losing Steph, actually, just for his experience as well, has been
I never
big
thought we
problem.
would have missed him this much, but yeah, we
No.
definitely have. And then, especially at the start of the season, when I felt like when we had a few more of our pack playing, Carter was fit, Keddy, and I felt like we did front up. We did miss Steph at 13. Then I felt that bit of experience in the back line, and it's come to bite us. But quality young players again, like you mentioned, Ackerman, massive fan of Ackerman. I think he's going to be really, really good player. But again, he's young, he needs time. And does he need time in a side that's getting thumped every week? Is that going to do him good? Don't know.
I like Joe Westwood, I really do.
Yeah. Joe looks good.
This is his first season, and I think it's been a bit of a baptism of fire at times. I think it's fair to say, but I really like him.
Yeah. Joe, he's big, fast, strong.
He is a big guy.
He's a good ball player as well. We just want to see these players with front football. I don't think many 13s would look that good with some of the ball that we give them.
No. I forgot to leave out. Well, there's a bit of news I forgot about, but we have to talk about it. Wales Online reported on the weekend, as if the weekend can get any worse. Zebra won, and then we have this news. Tane Basham is leaving the Dragons, and he's going to Cardiff. South Wales Argos have also reported the same, so it's very likely that it's a done deal. I had a feeling this was going to be Tane's last season with us. I think the past couple of years he has gone off the boil. But I have to say this season, I don't know about you, I think he's been our best player. I think he's been absolutely
100%.
terrific. Best of luck to him. But I know the club will try and play this down, but this is a massive blow to the Dragons. And I think it's a damning indictment when you lose a homegrown young talent like Tane, one of our best players, to the local rival down the road. I really do think it's a damning indictment of where the Dragons are at the moment. That's not nice to say, I know, but that's where we are. I'm really disappointed by this, but I saw it coming. What do you make of the news, Gav, about Tane leaving?
Yeah, absolutely gutted. Like you said, he's a homegrown player, so he should be a poster boy for the Dragons for the next few years, and he's going to our biggest rivals. I think I sent the screenshot of the article to my brother and my old man the next day, and my dad just said, "What's the point?" Because that is how we're feeling. It's when you're losing a player of his quality, it is tough to take, and for him to go to your biggest rivals, it's sad. I don't blame Tane. I think he's give everything to the Dragons. He recently won his 100th cap, and I think he probably feels that he needs to be in a better side to push his Wales ambitions. I just wish he went to a genuinely good side, not just a side that's a bit better than the Dragons, because he's not going to be winning trophies at Cardiff. I think, like you said offline, Jamie, they're not up there. If he signed for a big English club, fair enough, but I guess family reasons, it's close and things like that. But yeah, it's just sad. He's one of my favourite players. Love watching him. I felt like at times this season he's really grabbed the game by the scruff of the neck, scored a few tries, and really gave us go forward. And I don't know how we replace him.
He's going to be tough to replace. I mean, he will get a few more wins at Cardiff, and he'll probably win a Welsh Shield. But I would have liked him to have gone to an English Premiership side. I would like to have gone because Saracens were after him for a little while. He was always linked to Saracens,
Yeah.
wasn't he? Then Leicester started sniffing, and I read Sale as well. Yeah, it's a bit of a blow he's going to Cardiff. A little bit disappointing, but I don't blame him. I don't blame him. It's like I said to you, perhaps he feels if you can't beat Cardiff, then you got to join them. I don't know, but
Yeah.
best of luck to him. It is
Yeah.
a blow. Like I said, I know the club will try and sugarcoat it a little bit, but it's very difficult.
I would say, for one reason, I'm glad he's staying in Wales because I would like to see him kick on and push for Welsh honours again and get back in that squad. Although
I
this
suspect that's
competition.
the real reason behind this move.
Yeah.
I suspect that was the driving factor. Not that he really wanted to go to Cardiff, but more to do with he wanted to realise his international ambitions would probably be better served moving to Cardiff, who do seem to have an awful lot of Wales players.
There'll be a lot more
in the
noise
squad.
about him online anyway when he's pulling on their jersey.
Yeah, it's funny seeing Cardiff supporters who never rated him before and then saying, well, an excellent signing of this. Yeah, it's funny that, isn't it? Yeah, really funny. Fickle bunch. Zebra's win out in Ulster. That's the result we didn't want. We could really have done without that. Cheers, Ulster. That means now they're 8 points ahead of the Dragons. So I've resigned myself now to the fact that we're going to finish bottom of the league. That's just my opinion. I've resigned myself to that. There's no relegation. It's fine. Just means we're the worst team in the league. The rest of the fixtures, right? And I'm going to read them out to you, Gaff. And I want you to be honest and tell me how many wins you think we'll get out of these, right? Glasgow at home, the remaining champions. Now, this is during the Six Nations, so they will be depleted, but it's still Glasgow.
Yeah.
Zebra away. Bearing in mind we haven't beaten them in Parma since 2019. Ulster at home. Edinburgh away. Scarlets in Cardiff at Judgment Day. Ospreys away. And then to finish off, a tour of South Africa. Stormers and the Bulls away. How many games could you see us winning out of that? Because I'll be honest right now, I'm going to say 0. Sorry, but I don't think we'll win another game for the rest of the season.
Dear me.
Be positive now.
So,
try and be positive. Let's have a bit of light and shade.
I think, look, we're not going to beat Glasgow. We're going to hope. Even with them being depleted, we've not got the quality to beat them. Zebra away, it was almost a cup final, but now they might be out of sight. They pulled, is it 8 points clear of us?
They are now 8 points ahead. The Wooden Spoon Showdown has been described as the South Wales Argus. Honestly, that's what they've described as, the Wooden Spoon Showdown.
I mean, I think we should own it. I think when I was on the first time,
we should own it.
It was when I think it was when Zebra beat Munster. I was on the first time over there, and
yeah, they beat Munster.
We were sort of like, oh no, and like that's not the result we want. Great to see, but not what we want. And now I just think, well, we deserve to be bottom. I'm not gutted. I just think, well, I am gutted, but I'm not gutted for Zebra. I'm thinking, well, yeah, you deserve to be ahead of us because you're a better team than us these days, which is a very sad thing to say. So can I see us going over there and winning? We would need some very good news on the injury front to go over there and get a result.
Agreed.
I think I know you mentioned Keddy coming back. If we can get a few more, because it's a bit of time away, the Zebra game, isn't it? I think, is it end of Six Nations?
It is during Six Nations. I'll try and find out the date now. But yeah, keep talking.
Yeah, if we can get a few more players back, so obviously we've got Keddy coming back. We could do with a bit more experience. I know Hewitt hasn't been far away either, but it's in the front five. We need the players back. If we can suddenly get Screech, Cummins, if he can get himself fit.
Steve Cummins, who's that? Is he a new signing, is he?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, I must have missed that.
That would, that could, that would be a shock. But I think if we could get a couple of second rows, I think Rodri Jones at Loosehead is close as well. I think if we can get a few more bodies on the pitch, we can go and get a result there. We are good enough to do it. We've got the quality in the side, especially with players like Basham and Rio not being called up. They're match winners. But with the way the squad is currently shaping up with injuries, I wouldn't see a win.
So we play Zebra on Friday, the 28th of February.
We've got a month, basically, just under a month.
We
Well,
should have. Did you mention Ben Carter then and those players who were reeling off?
I didn't know, but I believe he's due back, isn't he?
He's supposed to be back sort of during the Six Nations or somewhere around that time. So that,
Yeah.
that would be very, very good timing, actually,
Yeah.
Ben. If you could come back for that, that'd be
Yeah.
great.
If you take players like Carter and Screech, they held their own against the South Africans for Wales and put in a
They
shift.
did.
They
They
can go.
absolutely did.
We get them on the park. It's the same old story with us, isn't it? If we can field close to a good 23 for us, we're in with a shout, like we were for the first few games of the season. As soon as injuries kick in, we're miles off the pace. So it's a 50-50, that Zebra game, and we're watching that one from behind the sofa, I think.
Ulster at home. Ulster have been very poor this season. They're going through a transition period,
Yeah,
but they're still heavy favourites, aren't they?
they'll be favourites, and it's our poison chalice that teams target us. If someone needs a win, they think, well, we'll put some effort into that, and we'll go and get a win away to turn our season around. Again, if we've got players coming back, there's no reason why we can't put up a good fight against Ulster. But let's be honest, the season's told us we're not going to win that game.
No. And then Edinburgh away, that's
No,
going to be tough.
no.
Scarlets at Judgment Day. Our last two performances against Scarlets have been absolutely abysmal. I was there for Judgment Day at Cardiff City Stadium.
Yeah,
That was just
horrendous.
absolute dross. New Year's Day, again, absolute rubbish. We have not turned up the last two occasions we played Scarlets. So can we actually please turn up? Because when we do turn up against Scarlets, we quite often beat them. We've got a decent record in recent years, but that's been tarnished now by these recent performances.
I mean, I wouldn't be overly shocked if we lose all the other games and go and do them down there, even if they're on better form than us, just because that could be quite Dragonsy to pull something out of a hat once in the season or twice this season. But yeah, they're playing some good stuff in their Scarlets, to be fair to them. It's not nice praising other teams, but playing better rugby than us at the minute.
And then Ospreys away, the last time we went down there was when Toby Faletau with an afro was playing for us.
Wow.
And Dave Flanagan was the Ospreys fly off. That's how long ago it was. Paul Turner was coach. So, yeah, that's probably a write-off. And then Stormers and Bulls away, that's damage limitation exercise, isn't it?
It's a
Sorry.
holiday, isn't it? Can we fold? Again, not fold as in the cup. Can we just abandon those games? Because what are we going to learn out there? We're going to take a pasting.
Pain. That's what we're going to learn. We're going to learn pain. So how many wins are you saying then out of that?
1.
Well, that's more optimistic than me. That's fine. That's optimism.
Dear me. And I want it to be Zebra, but I want to see another win at home. I paid for a season ticket. I want to watch us win.
It is nice when you shell out 300 quid or something around that, like I do, and you get to see more than 1 or 2 wins a season. It would be nice, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
But that's just where we are. That's where we are. Before we go then, something very important is coming up. There's a supporters Q&A Thursday, February the 6th, Ronnie Parade, 6:30 p.m. in the Tony Brown Suite. The chairman and the CEO will provide a full update on the club's plans, including the head coach position and recruitment and retention. They will answer submitted questions before taking those from the floor. So by this time next week, we will know if Philo Tiatia will be our permanent head coach. Also, this will be the first time the chairman, David Wright, will directly address supporters since officially starting his role as chairman, which was back in July the 1st, 2024. So this is going to be the first time supporters have actually heard from him directly.
About time, isn't it?
It is, yeah. So, Gareth, are you going?
Yes, I'm certainly going, and I would encourage any Dragons fan who cares about the club to go. So I think it's a pretty important Q&A. If you can make it, go there and make yourself heard as well. What's your opinion?
I've been to a lot of these Q&As at Ronnie Parade, as you know, because I often see you there.
Yeah.
Some of them are interesting. Others have been a complete waste of time.
Yes.
I think this Q&A is probably the most important that they've done so far. Purely because we need to know what's going on with the head coach. We need to know what the club's plans are going forward. I know they like talking about how the Dragons are the most stable region and we own our own stadium. That's fine. That's important. You can't deny that. That's important. But what good is owning your own stadium if you can't win a game inside it? How is that going to pull in? How is that going to pull in the punters just by saying we own our own stadium? I need to see more. I don't want jam tomorrow. I want answers. I want to know why they decided to part with Dai when they did, if there ever was a plan. I want to know who they're targeting in recruitment. How many key players have we signed? We know that Tane is not one of them, obviously, but I just want some answers now because I'm getting a bit disillusioned, as everyone knows. What are you hoping to get out of this Q&A?
Yeah,
what do you want to hear?
Yeah, I want to know what the vision is, because I think over the last, good few years now, there's always been a relative excuse of there was COVID, there's the takeover, we're waiting on this, we're waiting on that.
Yeah.
We are now in control of our destiny. The owners own the club, they want to invest in the club, they've committed to making us a better team. They promised that was going to happen this season. It has not happened. So there is no excuse as to why. We can talk about injuries, but you shape the squad and we've got it wrong in the type 5 and with the signings. I want to know what the vision is and what is happening to address the on-field issues. Great that we're stable off it, but I don't pay my season ticket money and go over and buy a jersey for my little one because we own the ground and we're doing all right on the and being in the black on the books. I want to see good rugby and I want to see winning rugby. So I want to know, how are they addressing the on-field issues? It's their club or it's our club, and they're in control of it. There is no excuse now. Any bad decisions lie with them.
Yeah, nobody on the terraces is singing, "We own a stadium, we're in the black, we're in the black." No one's singing that. They want to sing "Stand Up for the Men."
They want that now. Some of the stuff he comes out with.
They want to sing about wins. We want to sing "Stand Up for the Men." That's what we want to be singing about.
There's no better place to be. Like you said, it's your favourite ground. There is honestly nowhere better to be. When we're on it and we get a win, and they're often tight because we don't blow teams away, that feeling, well, that's why you go back. Because it's so good and you cling on to it. I used to love watching the game back the next day and just reliving it. I don't think I've really watched anything back this season.
It's really painful when you watch a game. If you've been to the game and you goes like it did on Saturday, I did watch the Munster game back. I always do. I always watch the games back if I go to them.
It is rough.
It's like watching a horror movie. It's a bit. Oh, I can't watch this bit. Then you cover your eyes. I can't watch it. It's horrible. That's the grisly bit where we can see the bonus point trying to 20th. Oh no, I hate that bit.
Like you said, though, we need to know what's happening with the coach, because let's be honest, tier is now spread too thin. Why is this a constant problem at the Dragons that our coaches are spread too thin?
Yes,
it's been years where we've had this issue, and it's not right. We went a whole season without a defence coach. We bring one in and get rid of the head coach. It's just outrageous. It's not good enough for a professional outfit. I don't think the coaching setup is strong enough for the league that we're in. It'd be.
But that's what happens when you appoint trainee coaches.
Yeah, and that's it. We all know there's a salary cap that we can spend to, but there is no cap on backroom staff. So why have we not got sports psychologists? We should be investing in the best off-field that we can to give us the edge. And we should be investing in the 2 marquee players above the salary cap. But I think you've alluded to it before, Jamie. How would we possibly attract them anyway? So maybe that's not going to happen. But if the owners are saying, we're willing to invest, we want to be better, we're not standing for losing, well, let's see actions. We need to see actions now. Otherwise, why would anyone renew?
I think the recruitment's just got to be so much better than it was. I think we've recruited the worst out of any team in the league. I think our recruitment has been the worst.
100%.
And you can see that with Funaki, Cummins, Yeah,
has anyone been fit? I mean, fair play. Shane Lewis-Hughes has been quality, but
he's still quality, mate. He's got 9.5 fingers.
Yeah, and he's still absolutely class. But he did come over with an ongoing issue. So, the players we picked up were all risks. Luckily, he did pay off. But if the salary is going to go up by about 0.7, we've got no Basham on the book, no Ollie, Brown, Fairbrother. There's got to be quite a bit of money to play with. So I'd expect a fair few players to come in. But I just don't want it to be this merry-go-round. One thing that really frustrated me recently is, the squad needs an overhaul. Well, all of these players have been retained in the last 2 years.
But we've
Maybe
already had an
3.
overhaul. This
Yeah,
is what I
that's it.
spoke about on the Rap podcast. We did this under Bernard Jackman. We had another overhaul, and we've been through this before. We're
That's
not
it.
going to have an overhaul because the squad's too small.
And Buttress has said he's not happy with the recruitment, but all the players go through his sign-off, and everyone's been retained under his ownership.
Well, this is bizarre. Look, I like David Buttress a lot, right? And it's because of him that we still got the Dragons. Let's be honest, he did brilliant work in trying to get back. Him, Graham Bradbury, and others did a brilliant job. There's a lot of finger pointing going on at the minute. I don't know if you noticed this with the recruitment. Some people putting all the blame on Di Flanagan, and then you got David Buttress say, "Yeah, I wasn't happy with the recruitment," and he said it a couple of times now on social media. Well, you're all to blame. As a board, you signed off these players.
Yeah.
It wasn't just Di going out signing them willy-nilly. They would have had approval from the board, and I know for a fact the board have chased a couple of these players. Harry Wilson being one of them.
In the situation where he was spread too thin to not concentrate on it. He was spread too thin, so recruitment could never be his biggest focus.
Well, he had no head of recruitment. He had no defence coach. He had no director of rugby. This is why I felt sorry for Di. That's the thing I always said. We chucked a young coach into the deep end and he had no support. And that's down to the club. I'm sorry. They have got to take responsibility for that. They might not be happy with the results, but they put him in a young coach in a very difficult position.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, it is. The board needs to shoulder the blame. I'd like them to come out and actually take some of the blame instead of trying to deflect it.
Yeah.
We're not a corporate business. We're a rugby club. We should be honest with our fan base who pay good money to go over. So I'm hoping that we get a bit of honesty in the Q&A as well, and maybe not ask the chairman why Rodri kicks the ball. And
can we not talk about why we can't have the same prices as Wetherspoons in the bar, or why can't we have a clubhouse with sausage and chips? Those are the kind of questions were asked at the last Q&A. And no, I'm sorry, this is serious stuff now. No, I don't want to hear nonsense like that. People turn up, ask proper questions, hold these owners to account because we need answers now. This is serious stuff.
Yeah.
I don't want to hear about bloody Wetherspoons and sausage and chips. Although I would like Tiny Rebel beers on draft. I'm not going to lie, but that's not the time or the place to be talking about that. We should have it though, shouldn't we? If we're local, why don't we have local brews on draft?
Makes sense. Do you think there's a risk that people have given up, and will they even? Because it could get really rowdy, but I have a feeling that it's going to be quiet there. Because do people care enough now, or have they given up?
You've been to these Q&As as much as I have. They're never rowdy.
No, they're not. No.
I think as a fan base, I'm going to get a stick for this. I think as a fan base, we're quite passive compared to the other three. Yeah. I think if this was happening at Cardiff, or if this was happening at Scarlets, their supporters would be a lot more angry. And there probably would be a protest or something going on. But I think we've become so used to failure and disappointment as a fan base, we've almost accepted it. The problem is, I'm hearing a lot of people now saying, I've had enough. This is my last season. I've said it to you. I'm not sure if I'm going to renew my season ticket. I just don't know at the minute. The board are going to have to pull a rabbit out of the hat, or they're going to have to show me a clear plan of the way forward. Because you can't expect people to just turn up week after week to see a group of lads getting hammered, and to see us conceding bonus point tries after just half an hour. Uncompetitive. Losing is one thing. Okay, we can deal with that. That's sport. But we can't be uncompetitive. We like that. I'm sorry that we cannot be going there and the game's over in the first half. That's got to stop. That's really got to stop. And that's down to everyone.
At home. Well, I believe last year when obviously we had that terrible result away in Cardiff, and Buttress was quite vocal after that, saying that should never happen again. We don't want to be a side where that we ever have a result like that again. Well, we've had those results at home this season. Obviously not to Cardiff, but
we've had these results, mate, for the past God knows so many years. It keeps happening. And they're just certain games where that if Dragons, especially if they go away from home, they're going to concede 40, 50 points when they go to, like, I don't know, Ulster, Munster, South. You just know it's going to happen. But even at home, like you said, sorry, mate, go on.
Sorry, mate. I was going to ask, do you think the owners realise how big a problem we have as a playing squad? Or do you think they think we're closer than we are?
Well, when you see David Buttress's stuff he's put on social media, because you said to me that one of the things he says is we're not too far away, wasn't there, or something
From
like
being a
that?
mid-table team. Oof,
That's what he said.
living the
Not
dream.
not far
Yeah,
away from a mid-table team.
yeah.
Right. Okay. I like David a lot, but I don't know why he's been smoking because we are nowhere near a mid-table team. Well, look at the table. The results don't lie. We're behind Zebra now. Zebra were always the hapless Zebra, weren't they? The worst team in the
Yeah.
league. We're now going to be the worst team in the league. We're nowhere near being mid-table. Nowhere near. We're the worst team in Wales and have been for years.
Yeah. We used to get referred to as like plucky dragons, and it used to wind me up. And people used to be like, "Oh, you're like my second team. You used to throw it about. You played good rugby." And
I'd
obviously,
kill for those days,
but
the
yeah,
days where we were plucky underdogs.
yeah,
But
we
we're
are
not
not
even that
plucky.
now.
No, and it's almost in our DNA from our geography where we are. We like being plucky underdogs. We like getting in there, and we don't want for the glitzy glamour of the top of the table. We just want to be competitive. It's so frustrating because it shouldn't be this hard to be competitive. And it's been years and years of making excuses. I've made excuses to myself to convince myself to keep going, keep supporting, and I'm running out of excuses now. And there's a lot of players I really like there. We've got some quality and some great youngsters.
We've
I
got
think
some terrific young talent there.
there's some absolute quality players that I just don't want to give up on. But it is tough going, really tough going.
It really is. Just one last question before we wrap up, right? Because I've been thinking about this a lot. This is my prediction. I could be horribly wrong, but this is what I think is going to happen. I think Philo is going to be made permanent head coach. And I think they'll say, we're making Philo our permanent head coach. Because to me, that's how it feels like they wanted him from the beginning. It
Yeah.
feels like this was the plan all along. They may deny that. They might say, no, you're talking nonsense. But from the outside looking in, this is how it feels like they wanted him to be number one all along. We'll make him head coach and we'll bolster the coaching team. New defense coach, maybe a new attack coach. How would you feel about that? Philo was our head coach, but they say we're going to bolster the backroom staff. Would that be acceptable for you? Or do you think that no, Philo needs to go back to being defense coach, where our defense was actually pretty decent when he was defense coach,
Yeah.
and we go out there and make a statement? And it's going to be difficult because we have got an awful reputation, the Dragons. It's very hard to attract quality players coaches, but do you think the board should open their checkbooks and say, right, we need to go out and find an experienced coach?
In an ideal world, I'd rather us get an experienced head coach.
Yeah.
If Philo was given the reins and we do boast of the team, that they need to be experienced coaches as well. I don't want to see, with all due respect, someone promoted from the Premiership or a young coach come in to learn the ropes to boast of the team just as an extra body. That is not what we need. We need experienced coaches who are used to turning teams around, used to winning games, and bring that winning mentality. I think there's been a lot of comments online about Tia's demeanour and how he comes across. He doesn't seem enthusiastic, but
that's an understatement. He's the most dour coach in history. He has given off, and me and Gavin have spoke about this on the pod, as you well know. He's got to be the most reluctant head coach ever, isn't he?
He doesn't seem happy. And you do think, did he come over to do Dye, to work with Dye? But he signed a 3-year contract, is what we've heard from the Dragons. And he knew Dye's contract was up this year.
He didn't come over here for this, though. I don't think. They may have wanted him. This may have been a plan from the owners to eventually get him as number one, but he did not come here for this, and you can tell that. With
all due respect to Philo and a great player, but he's not got an impressive coaching record.
No, as head coach, no.
He's not come in as the messiah, and performances have dictated. We're not punching our weight. Even with the injuries, we're still not showing a collective fight. So I wouldn't be massively impressed if he was given the reins, but depends on who else we bring in alongside him. I would like to see, though, a new head coach and Philo go back to defence with potentially someone more experienced come in to run the attack as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Philo is an asset to the coaching team. The players clearly respect him, but for me, the jury is very much still out as to whether he's head coach material.
Yes,
that's where I stand on it.
Yeah.
Okay. I think we'll wrap it up there. It's been a long one. Gareth, thank you so much for joining me and stepping in for Gavin. Gavin will be back on the next pod, I'm sure. Thanks again to Ollie. Lovely guy, wasn't it? A really good chat that was. Best of luck to him and his family. Lovely guy. And thank you to Riverside Sports Bar for their continued support of the podcast. They've just launched a new food menu, and fair play, it looks really, really good. So get down there and try their new burgers. We'll be back to review the Glasgow game, and we'll probably have a chat about what came out of the Q&A. But until then, thanks for listening, and we'll see you in the next one. Ta-ra.
That was The Dragon's Lair in association with the Riverside Sports Bar Newport, an American-style bar with a proper Welsh feel.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.